Ready? Okay. Name Avis Carrington. Reverend King, Dr. Patricia Saul, our featured speaker this afternoon. This afternoon, we are gathered at Shenstone Pine Road to launch the biography of Dame Avis Carrington. At the risk of making this a bit of an academic exercise, and particularly for the benefit of those of us who are joining us, or those who are joining us from across the world, I think I need to start by defining a few terms. Avisene, a name which I have already used. Avis, Mrs. Carrington, teacher, and mom all refer to the same person. Maryville School and Mrs. Carrington's school are the same institution. Ronnie, Shelley, and Ian are Dame Avis's children, who are today collectively 227 years old. Hazel refers to my wife, Dr. Hazel Lindo-Carrington, the author whose work we recognize this evening. We originally conceived this launch as a grand event, actually going to be held at the Frank Coleman Hall. But of course, with the challenges associated with COVID-19 management, we decided eventually to have this virtual affair. On reflection, this is where the event belongs. Shenstone Pine Road has been Mom's home for the last 66 years. The dining room of the house was the birthplace of Maryville School. Second, the building that's behind me through the foliage actually housed Maryville School for the last 43 years and will be a silent observer to the event this evening. Finally, the event is taking place in Mom's garden. This is her very special place. To this day, she can be found here as early as 6 a.m., lovingly taking care and nourishing her plants that have given her immeasurable joy and happiness for more than 60 years. Indeed, Ronnie, Shelley, and I know better, or have known better, than to put Mom in a position where she had to choose between her plants and ourselves. So we have never done that. Our family has worshipped at St. Cyprian's Church for over 60 years. And on the occasion of Mom's birthday, Reverend Joseph King, the priest in charge of the church, led a service in celebration of Mom's achievement of 100 years. The bonds between St. Cyprian's Church and Mom are such that Reverend King has interrupted a vacation to be here with us this evening. We sincerely appreciate his commitment to all of the members of his church, including Mom, and we invite him to bless the proceedings this evening. Reverend King.
Let us pray. The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us all. Almighty God, we ask you this evening to accept our prayers and thanksgiving for all that you have done for us. We thank you for the beauty of your creation that we so richly enjoy. We thank you that you have made men and women in your image, with minds to know you, hearts to love you, wills to obey you. We thank you for setting us tasks which demand our best efforts, and for leading us to accomplishments which satisfy and delight us. We thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, for the example of his life and for his steadfast obedience which he overcame temptation. And this evening we come together to thank you for those who have devoted themselves to the service of education. We thank you for those men and women whose ideals have brought nobility and dignity into human life. More importantly, we thank you for Dame Avis Carrington and this book launch that chronicles her life, her work, her witness, and her devotion. We thank you for giving her a true sense of vocation, that she regarded her work not as a job to be done or as a means of earning a living, but as a service to be rendered to children and young people. We thank you for the many children whose lives were touched as she prepared them to fulfill their appointed place in the life of this world. And now we graciously ask you, Almighty God, that your blessing will always be upon Dame Carrington, that her future years will be filled with radiant health, longer life, love, joy, and peace. And we also ask that this book may always be an inspiration to many, to your honor and to your glory. This we ask in the name of Christ, our Lord. Amen.
From a very young age, the children of the Carrington household were an integral part of the behind-the-scene operations of Maryville School. Long after the end of school days, and very often on weekends, we were invited, my mother claims, quite unwillingly, to undertake numerous school-related tasks. They were making ice blocks in the evening for the canteen the next day. At Christmas time, we had to spend all night wrapping gifts for the children. We had to take charge of children in the front yard after school, numerous tasks. Thankfully, a strengthened legal framework in Barbados against the exploitation of child labor would preclude this type of activity again. It is with pleasure that I invite my brother, Ronnie, the most senior member of that exploited group, to deliver the welcome remarks this evening.
Thank you, Ian. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. As I welcome you to Shenstone this afternoon, on the occasion of the launch of a book on my mother's teaching career, it occurs to me that there are few men my age fortunate enough to be able to sit down and have a discussion with their mother. There are still fewer who may be asked by their mother to come and give a hand in the garden. And certainly very, very few, when approaching my age, whose mother may be mistaken for their spouse. Avis Carrington is a remarkable woman in many respects, and one whose story of selfless dedication to her calling of shaping young minds deserves to be told. This is the place where more than 1,500 fertile minds have been influenced, including the present Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Amor-Motley. I well remember the period of construction of the school building by contractor Leslie Murray and his team of about 6 workers who created the structure behind me. I may have inspired the process when, as an 11-year-old, I started excavating, determined to level a portion of the slope to make it more useful. Once the building was completed, the teaching activities taking place in every nook and cranny of the house, except my bedroom, could be carried out in more comfortable surroundings. As the school expanded from a handful of smiling faces to some 200 students at its peak, so too did the hum of associated activity. From the makeshift canteen run by Trustee Applewhite, the installation of a traffic crossing and lollipop lady as numbers grew, and the opportunistic vendor who plied her trade just inside the gate, to the eventual installation of equipment for the EduTech project, the passage of time has been kind to my mother and has made for excellent reading as compiled by my sister-in-law. Over the years, Mom has been surrounded by a group of faithfuls, people like Grisette, the gardener with the aristocratic accent, Coppin, who kept the premises tidy, and a dedicated teaching staff, many of whom devoted more than 30 years of their lives to shaping the lives of others. Their loyalty to Mom was outstanding. I welcome you to Shenstone, where it all happened, and the launch of Simply Teacher, the story of my mother's life of teaching. Thank you.
As you would well imagine, the production of this book was quite a journey. It lasted a number of years. Laurie Blackman is first and foremost a family friend. But over the last year or two, she has been the wise advisor and counselor who has assisted Hazel in getting the book to the stage we are at this evening. So I invite Laurie to say a few words about the journey.
Thank you, Ian. Dame Avisene, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I first became aware of this book project in March of 2018, and at that point, the author, Dr. Lindo-Carrington, or Hazel, as she would want to be called, was still in the process of completing the book. We only had a brief conversation at that time, and by the time we next spoke about the project, she had all but completed it, representing years of pouring her heart and soul into the book, Simply Teacher. This book is about an educator, written lovingly by an educator. This book is about a mother-in-law, written lovingly by a daughter-in-law. In addition, this book is about a woman whose life has been characterized by bold decisions and braving new frontiers. And this, too, is how I view Hazel's journey to completing this book. As a teacher and a lecturer, as a PhD, she is no stranger to writing, but in writing and publishing this book, she braved new frontiers. I have come to understand Hazel's determination to capture the main events and milestones of Dame Avis's exemplary life while ensuring that the down-to-earth and unassuming nature of Dame Avis is reflected in the pages of the book. The stories shared in the book are done so tastefully, tactfully, and lovingly. Though arduous at times, this journey has been a labor of love for Hazel, and if ever challenges or frustrations were encountered, she met them with a loving spirit. And although she has had unwavering family support, much of the journey she walked alone. As I understand it, there were countless hours of interviewing and chatting with Dame Avis, with family members, past students, parents, and staff of Maryville. There were long hours of writing and selecting pictures, followed by the editorial and proofreading stage, after which came the printing stage, and finally the publishing stage, where she ensured that the book could be accessed by any and all who desired to read it. I often joke to Hazel that the journey to producing this book was akin to the stages of childbirth which a woman experiences. We spoke about labor pains. We spoke about the baby, which is this book, moving into the birth canal. And a few weeks ago, we spoke about the head of the baby, which is this book, crowning. I can say today that the baby, which is this book, Simply Teacher, has been delivered. And it is beautiful and it is healthy. The team of figurative midwives has included her husband, a broad-based support group of friends and family, and Dame Avisene herself. I am fortunate to have been a part of that team and to have been in the delivery room to witness the birth. I will conclude my remarks by congratulating Hazel on staying true to her vision and completing the process. The famed writer Isabel Allende, born in Peru and raised in Chile, once offered this sage advice to budding writers: write what should not be forgotten. In producing this book, Hazel has done exactly that. Through her efforts, Dame Avis and the Carrington and Innes families will be immortalized. The inspirational story of Maryville Preparatory School will forever live on, springing to life every time this book is read, far into the future. In my opinion, this was not her aim when she began the process, but this is the end result, and it is a good result. Congratulations, Hazel. Congratulations as well to Dame Avisene and the entire Carrington family. I salute you all. Thank you.
Mom's most common response to any effort to recognize her success as an educator in a career that has spawned 74 years. I think that's close to life expectancy for men in Barbados. She was working for 74 years. And throughout that time, if anyone attempted to recognize what she had achieved, one of the first things she always said was, "I did not do it alone." She's a firm believer in community and the collective power of community. She has had a positive impact on numerous lives and is always quick to acknowledge that many have had an equally powerful impact on her own life. We are honored this evening to have with us representatives of the communities that were central to Mom's life over a number of years. Lionel Weekes is representing the community of St. Giles School, a school that Mom joined in 1936. Let me hasten to add that once you see Lionel's youthful appearance, it will be clear to those of you who do not know him that his name did not appear on the register of St. Giles School in 1936 when Mom joined. Beverly Jones had a career as a member of faculty at Maryville School that spanned 34 years and provided Hazel with consistent and immeasurable support throughout the life of this project. She unfortunately is not well this afternoon, but she has sent us some remarks which I will read. Lisa Clarke, an effervescent, tireless leader of the Maryville alumni. She has led many initiatives, including one which perhaps was brought to an end by COVID only, where students would gather once a year and celebrate the school in September, the date in which it both started and ended. But Lisa has led many initiatives aimed at ensuring that Mom is constantly reminded of the love and admiration of the thousands of students whose lives she has had a positive impact on. Dale Foster exemplifies the crucial and valuable role that parents have played in the success of Maryville School. She and other parents have provided support, and Dale, especially during the latter years of Maryville School, that has touched Mom immensely. So we will start with Lionel. I will read some comments from Beverly Jones. Lisa will join us, and then Dale Foster. Thank you. Lionel?
Master of Ceremonies, Master of Ceremonies, Dame Avis, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I wish to thank the Carrington family for bestowing on me the honor and privilege of giving this testimonial as a former student of St. Giles Boys School at the virtual launch of the book entitled Simply Teacher, which chronicles the life of Dame Avis. I attended Belmont Primary, a predominantly female school in the Belgully area from 1951 to 1953. I entered St. Giles Boys School in 1953 at the age of 7. I was assigned to class 1A, where I met Mrs. Avisene Carrington, the class teacher and leader. I confess that I fell in love with her immediately. At that time, St. Giles was one of the most famous and celebrated primary schools of excellence in Barbados. Students journeyed to St. Giles from the north in St. Lucie and from the south in St. Philip and Christchurch and from the other parishes to attend this renowned institution to obtain the best primary school education. St. Giles had the good fortune of possessing many skilled and excellent male and female teachers, some of whom achieved iconic status during their careers. However, to my mind, at St. Giles, Mrs. Avis Carrington was the most emblematic and exemplary personification of care, compassion, consideration, confidence, commitment, charisma, dedication, diligence, and devotion to the vocation of teaching. I shared these thoughts with some of my institutional contemporaries, and they all concurred with these sentiments. Mrs. Carrington was universally loved and respected by all of her students because of her teaching skills and her great spirit of generosity and humanity. She was patient, kind, and understanding, and treated us with dignity and equality. She made all of us feel special and valued as students and as human beings. She spent a lot of time ensuring that each pupil understood the lesson being taught and the knowledge she was imparting. I share the views of all the alumni of St. Giles Boys School that Mrs. Carrington, Dame Avis, was at that and continues to be during her long life of 103 years, the proverbial woman of the Bible and the embodiment of internal and external feminine pulchritude. During my adult life, one evening I saw Dame Avis and her wonderful daughter and my soul sister Shelley at the Frank Calama Hall attending an event. I requested my famous former teacher to please give me a hug. She kindly consented. It was a true transport of delight as I took flight to heaven. At last, I had realized my cherished childhood dream and ambition. A mere mortal man was embraced by a graceful, gracious goddess. Dame Avis, educator extraordinaire, mentor and exemplar, nation builder. On behalf of the alumni of St. Giles Boys School, I salute you.
As I mentioned, I will read the remarks penned by Mrs. Jones, who unfortunately wasn't able to join us. Something attempted, something done was the motto of Maryville Preparatory School, and very well could be added because of the leadership of the founder, Avis Carrington. She was a dedicated person who led by example. As a mentor, she spent time with each class, passing on her knowledge and skills to the teachers. This created an excellent learning environment for staff and students. She taught before the school day started and found time to teach during the lunch break, a practice that all teachers eventually adopted. And then there were her words of wisdom. To avoid going crazy, she advised, see the funny side of things. You took me under your wings when I started teaching with only one term's experience and mentored me to be the person I am today. I'm sure that I speak for all teachers when I say thanks for your patience and understanding, and thanks for inspiring us. The lessons learned were taken to our new school when Maryville closed its doors in 2010. In closing, I have a confession to make. You may recall that children were sometimes reported for climbing the frangipani tree. I don't know which one, but somewhere behind there. But by the time you arrive to scold the children, they had disappeared. This is the confession of Miss Jones. I was the lookout. Dear Mavis, you are a phenomenal lady, and your legacy deserves to be documented in this book. Simply, teacher. May God continue to bless and keep you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Protocols already established. We, the past students of Maryville Preparatory School, could not be more proud that a book chronicling the journey of Dame Avisene Carrington, affectionately called Our Mrs. C, another term that Ian can add to his previous list, has been published during her lifetime. There are so many things about her and about this labor of love that we do not know, but we will do so shortly, thanks to her daughter-in-law, Hazel, and to the many contributors to this well-penned gem of history. But don't take my word for it, get your own copy. Now, while the memories of school days among us are mixed, some have fond, fuzzy memories of ice blocks, hot dogs that still cannot be rivaled, sitting back to back for tests, scraping pencils on the railings so that we could secure ownership by writing our names on them, ringing the school bell, and playing lots of games. Others enjoyed all of that, but on occasion needed to taste a bit of guidance from the strap. I have over the years spoken to quite a few of those recipients, and whether that extra guidance was regular or infrequent, there is one thing that as adults we all agree upon. Mrs. C cared then, and she cares now. Then she cared about our academics, deportment, eloquence, respect. She cared about our lives, our siblings, and our parents. Now she also cares about our careers, our life partners, and our children, and we can feel just how proud she is of all of us. Mrs. C, we thank you immeasurably for the foundation that you laid for us. The example that you set, which the other teachers followed, made sure that if we were ever behind in anything, even penmanship, that we caught up as quickly as possible. I even recall guiding a few hands along the way myself. We so miss our annual affair when we got that opportunity to show you what you mean to us, but we are truly thankful that we got in 10 events so that you do not have to guess or to wonder, but you know that we love you. The fact that we can still recite our prayers, poems, and most of those party day songs, which we now look up and post on Facebook just for fun, demonstrates that our memories and experiences here with you are strong and positive. We remain indebted to you, caring, loving, firm, gracious, elegant, awesome, phenomenal you. I thank you.
Dame Avisene Carrington, teacher, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. The author Marianne Williamson wrote, "We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same." Dame Avis's light shone as a teacher and as a principal. She worked with each child to reach his full potential, which didn't mean every child passed for Harrison College, but that every child could have a happy school experience and a chance at a productive life. No child was left behind at Maryville Preparatory School. Maryville was a small school, but with a big library. Reading was a must. I recall my first visit to the school. Children were sitting reading at 8 o'clock in the morning. I was impressed. It was a school that focused not only on work, but also on extracurricular activities. Maryville had a big brownie pack. In fact, Maryville School had the first 3 brownies who celebrated the newly introduced Girl Guides and Girl Scouts A's badge in 2007. Maryville's light shone bright with a big Cub Scout pack. Our Cub Scouts had their flagpole at the back of the garden. There, they raised the Barbados flag, especially during independence celebrations, in which the entire school participated. Our children were taught to express themselves through dance. I clearly remember my first Christmas concert at Solidarity House in 2000. It was like Broadway itself, with the children dancing their hearts out to Let It Snow, Let It Snow. Our children spoke well, standard English, stood tall, and were well-rounded. Of their experience at the school, one parent remarked, "It was personal." Another that she was forever grateful. Yet another, Dame Avis was loving but firm. I myself enjoy interacting with Dame Avis and her teachers, as they were all approachable. I would find myself at the school during the day, just dropping in. I felt comfortable, just like the pupils in the school environment. I was happy being there. On behalf of those parents who served with me on the PTA, and if I could be allowed for the parents that have gone before, I want to express our heartfelt gratitude to Dame Avis and her teachers. Thank you. And we're all looking forward to reading Simply Teacher. Thank you.
Mom has been connected to Urdeston Teachers Training College for over 61 years. She was among the second cohort that attended that institution in 1949. Now, while I'm unable to produce the empirical data to support this assertion, the assertion I will make now, I'm confident when I say that she must be the only student at Urdeston College whose 2 stints at the college, because she subsequently went back in the early 2000s to sharpen her computer skills. And I'm confident that she has to be the only student who attended Urdeston College having the 2 stints of her attendance separated by half a century. Her connection with the college continued long after she left. If you look over my shoulder to the right, when she needed to expand the footprint of the school to allow the children a larger area to play, Ursuline College leased her some land, a rather large tract of land. And to this day, albeit with the intervention of Hazel and Dr. Pat Saul, Ursuline College lent us the podium that we're using for this evening's event. So actually, if you go back to 1949, I hope my math doesn't let me down, 51 plus 21, she has had a 72-year connection with Ursuline College. Dr. Pat Saul, who until recently was the principal of the college and Hazel's close friend, is numbered amongst those who have reviewed this book and the manuscript before it was a book, and provided Hazel with valuable assistance and guidance in that process. We are honored that Dr. Saul has accepted our invitation to share her thoughts about the book. Dr. Pat Saul.
Master of Ceremonies, Dame Avisene Carrington, author Dr. Hazel Lindo-Carrington, members of the Carrington family, specially invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am honored to have been asked to share in this virtual launch of the book, Simply Teacher. It was Barack Obama who once said, if you're successful, there was a great teacher somewhere in your life. This is but one of the many powerful quotations which reverberate through the pages of the book Simply Teacher. Indeed, the title is a metaphor for the straightforward and unpretentious woman who answered God's call to be a teacher. However, the book reveals that she was not merely a teacher, but a great teacher, a revolutionary, if you will. For this demure lady who admitted to being a tomboy in her childhood, became a trailblazer in education in Barbados. Simply Teacher was written by one of the most dedicated educators I know, Dr. Hazel Lindo-Carrington, whose background in sociology is used to great effect in the text. In the preface of the book, the author speaks warmly about her mother-in-law, describing their relationship as one that has blossomed into a sweet blend of common interests, mutual respect, and admiration for each other. Avis Carrington herself confirms the closeness of the relationship by referring to the author as the daughter that her son brought into the family. According to the author, she and Avis share a common passion for education in Barbados. This singleness of purpose shines through in the spirit of the writing and speaks with a clarity and a veracity that make this book a gem. Moreover, because the writer's passion for the topic and her sensitivity of the audience are strong, the text virtually dances with life and energy. Emboldened by an erudite foreword written by the Honorable Mia Amor Motley, Prime Minister of Barbados, this 15-chapter biographical text takes us on an enthralling journey through the corridors of Avis Carrington's life. We are taken from her childhood, growing up in the Ivy, to her being awarded Barbados' highest national honor, Dame of St. Andrew, on her 100th birthday. At every juncture in the text, the author lays bare the ebbs and flows of Avis's personal and professional life for the reader's delight and erudition. Indeed, the trip through Avis's life is akin to viewing a documentary film on Barbadian history, education,
cultural practices, and social norms and values. Though Simply Teacher is centered on the life of Dame Avis Carrington, Maryville Preparatory School is the fulcrum on which it pivots. In fact, there is a sense in which Avis Carrington, her family, and Maryville were one. They didn't just occupy the same space, they embodied the same ethos. Moreover, the author states quite emphatically in the preface that the book is not only a celebration of the life of Dame Avis Carrington, but it is a narrative of the teaching profession that provides a model for a caring, sharing, supportive, and disciplined, yet happy school environment, one in which each child matters. That is the enduring theme of Simply Teacher. So when, in 2010, at the age of 91, Avis Carrington ended her illustrious career as teacher, having spent 74 years in the service, she felt she had answered the call and had accomplished the purpose that God had required of her. But as the book ends, there is still one thing which the author points out, which Dame Avisene Carrington still yearns. She longs to see the abolition of the common entrance examination, which she thinks is too stressful for students. According to her, the exam has served its time. We hope that the powers that be will listen to the wisdom of this education icon. In conclusion, I would only add that I found Simply Teacher to have been well conceptualized and skillfully written. Indeed, there is much to learn from the life of Dame Avisene Carrington. And Simply Teacher proves the Chinese proverb that a family in harmony will strive in everything. Ladies and gentlemen, I highly recommend Simply Teacher, the life of Avis Carrington, to all of you, but particularly to educators who can learn much from the special magic that she wielded in the classroom. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
As you have heard already, Hazel labored for many years to bring this book to fruition. Those of us closest to her can attest to her pursuit of perfection and that she toiled relentlessly to bring this book to fruition. At times it seemed like a beast that would not be tamed, but with her perseverance and determination, she has completed the journey that has brought us here this evening. I invite Dr. Hazel Lindo-Carrington to share some excerpts from her book.
Good evening, everyone. Before getting started, I'd like to send a special hello to my siblings who would have joined us from the US of A, 2 in Connecticut, Barbara and Yvonne, and 2 in New York, Maria and Sandra, and also to the St. Michael's Girls' School alumni in Canada. In Canada, they are also joining us. The narrative of Dame Avis Carrington started out as a clinical research project, right, Ronnie? That morphed into Simply Teacher with the advice and support of several persons. Thanks to my husband Ian for the vision. He pitched the idea for this book and persisted despite his mother's resistance and my lukewarm interest. I was hesitant and totally intimidated by the thought of writing the story of education icon Avis Carrington. Once she consented, she gave of her time unsparingly, sharing the memories of her long life and teaching career. Interviews were done over lunch, and there were days when more eating was done than recording, but those were the days when the best stories were told with nuggets of wisdom and bouts of laughter. Several persons contributed to the completion of this book and are listed in the acknowledgements, but I especially want to publicly thank Robert Sandiford, editor, and Linda Dean, layout and design from Arts, etc., not just for their expert guidance, but also for their patience. The experience at Cott Printery is worthy of special mention. The welcoming receptionist, the encouraging words from Roger Dottin, and the personal assistance from Marcia Allen. Thanks from your senior friend. Laurie Blackman took on what I'm sure was just another project, but her passion, enthusiasm, and dedication saw an electric proof become the launch of Simply Teacher, earning herself membership in the Merivale family. In the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, former student of Merivale Preparatory School, the Honorable Mia Amor Motley, Prime Minister of Barbados, found the time to write the foreword, and we extend our greatest thanks and appreciation to her. This book is dedicated to my mother, Reverend Desdemona Lindo Lane, a sprightly 95-year-old. I thank her for her prayers. It is also dedicated to teachers everywhere. Thank you for the love you give freely from the heart. And now to the excerpts. Now the first excerpt, I think it was Dr. Saul who said that I should read this one. The first excerpt is from the chapter called The Carringtons, and it speaks of what I'm going to call a walk in the park. A visit to see Mr. Innes's daughters was a visit to see the whole family. He would pull up a chair and engage Vera and Dayton in discussions about the issues of the day, inquire about their family, and question them on their plans for the future. This was simply a ploy to determine their suitability as future sons-in-law and to make sure that these young men were not left alone with his daughters. As they sat with Papa, Erdine and Avis were already hatching a plan to circumvent their overprotective father. The plot unfolded in two parts. Papa was reluctant, but the girls were old enough to attend the exhibition on their own. Their older cousin Arthur Bayer would be in attendance, and that gave him some comfort. Despite their father's vigilance, the girls managed to communicate their intention to meet the Carrington boys in Queen's Park. Part 2 called for the skills of the chief prankster. The long-established curfew was 4 o'clock, but before leaving home, Erdine turned the hands of the clock back by an hour to allow more time for the rendezvous. The young ladies stole the show in their fashionable dresses, and the young men were equally impressive in their dapper suits and felt hats. The group of 6 settled into a pleasant afternoon. Arthur accompanied Erdine, and Vera escorted Avis. Dayton was present, but Dan insisted that she was in the company of everyone. Unaware that prying eyes were everywhere, they took full advantage of the extra hour. But these were the old-time days, and the village, however one viewed it, took its role of raising a child seriously. Before they arrived back home, wagging tongues had told the tale, and soon they would answer to Papa for their youthful indiscretion. Avis and Erdine were allies who had challenged the status quo repeatedly. On the other hand, Dan was the one who always conformed to her parents' expectations, and in return, she earned special sway with their father. Now they were in trouble and dependent on her for a favorable outcome. But would she come to their rescue? The interrogation was intense and intimidating, and made that much worse because they had all let Papa down. The group was relieved when Dan described the outing as a mere gathering of friends, knowing as she did that Erdine was paired with Arthur, they would later marry, and Vere had fallen for Avis, and she was equally smitten. Now, this second one has to do with the way, for those of you who are close to my mother-in-law, she is extremely witty and an excellent storyteller and has a killer of a sense of humor. So this was one of the ways that she would keep a situation disciplined. At times, Avis resorted to her quick wit to bring a situation under control. Philip was a tutor of the funeral home family of Ivy Main Road. His father delighted in taking him to school in a hearse as a reminder of his source of income, much to the amusement of his peers who were relentless in their playful teasing. Philip's father did not stop driving his son to school, nor change the mode of transportation. Instead, he agreed to grant his son's request to drop him halfway along Pine Road and let him walk the remaining distance. As friends would, an argument between Philip Tudor and Philip Nichols soon escalated. Over what? Neither of them could recall, but Philip Tudor sought to bring an end to it. "Drop dead," he snapped within earshot of teacher. "School is no place for you to be looking for a business for your father," she said without hesitation. Her response generated waves of laughter, and the dispute was soon forgotten. Towards the end of the interview for Simply Teacher, I asked my mother-in-law, who I call Mom, "What is your legacy?" "What legacy what?" she said. She doesn't like the fuss. She still does not understand what all the fuss is about. "Dame Avis," I teased. Still nothing. "So how would you like to be remembered?" And without hesitation, she replied, "Simply Teacher." Mom, teacher, mentor, your love for children and your passion and commitment to their education and well-being continue to inspire. The story of Avis Carrington returns teaching to its once lofty status as the noblest of professions. What a way to end Education Month. I thank you.
Before I ask Mum to join us on the stage and share some thoughts with us, I'm going to try to help you to understand how someone who is 103 years old leaves home every Saturday morning, even in COVID, where she thinks she can manage the risk to go out to shop where she can. When she was perhaps 5 years younger than she is now, someone would tell me, "Oh, I saw your mother in Speightstown." Ronnie doesn't know how she got there. Shelley doesn't know how she got there. We understand she caught the bypass bus. So it's a lot about her mindset. It's a lot about how she sees herself. And it's certainly about a lack of restrictions that others might place on themselves. One story that I recall occurred on the closing day of the school in 2010. I was living in Tanzania then, so I called her at a time which I knew was going to be about 7 a.m. in the morning. It was the final day of school. She was closing a chapter of her life that covered more than half a century. So I was pretty sure it was going to be an emotionally tough day for her. Surprisingly, if it was emotionally tough, that did not come across in the conversation that we had. And the last thing that she said to me as we ended the call, remember at this stage she's 92 years old. The last thing she said to me as she ended the call, so you need to keep your eyes and ears open to see if there are any jobs I can apply for. That says it all about how she has defied all of the odds and is here to join us at 103 years and kicking. Dame Avisene Carrington.
Reverend Father King, friends and family, I'm just overwhelmed. But I'll take the opportunity, first of all, to thank you all for taking the time to be here this afternoon. I'm truly humbled at all the kind things that have been said about me. I am humbled that a book has been written on my life. And I want to say, first of all, thanks to my daughter-in-law, Hazel, for all the hard work she has put into this, in the production of this book. The title of the book says it all. I was simply a teacher on a journey of love. Were it not for the COVID pandemic, we would have probably be in some impersonal public arena for this function here this evening. But we are gathered here in a space of love and nurturing. This is my garden. I spend countless hours every morning pottering around, and I have a feeling of peace and tranquility. This is where my husband and I raised 3 children, and later 3 grandchildren. It is the place where Maryville School was born. The name Maryville, to my mind, came from the atmosphere that I tried to produce. In thinking of my school days, I certainly could not have reacted with my teachers as is the current practice these days. So I decided to open a school with my son Ian and 5 other 4-year-olds. And together we started a process of learning where there was merriment, joy, fun, laughter, hence the name Maryvale School. I thank God today that He has given me the privilege of impacting the lives of many young students. I am enheartened that many of my students have excelled in their fields of endeavor. But strange as it may sound to many of you, my satisfaction did not come from scholars. My satisfaction came from helping children with learning disabilities. And so, along with my husband, my 3 children, Maryvale was born, and we approached it as a family. Often people ask me, didn't the school disrupt your daily life? The answer is that I have what is I would call an all-hands-on-deck family. And my husband and my 3 children supported me all the way. It is with a sense of gratitude that God gave me the privilege to do just that. Here I would like to thank all those in their testimony this afternoon with their kind remarks. I want to say that my life has been one of joy, fulfillment, and most of all, I'm thankful to God that He has given me, I don't know whether I should say a long life, but He has spared my life so that I'm now, and everybody knows my age, I am now at the stage where I am still feeling as buoyant and vibrant as I, not completely, but certainly because of my association with youngsters. My children's friends have become my friends, and I'm truly happy that I'm still alive to experience all the ups and downs of what we are experiencing. I pray every day for the welfare of all peoples everywhere. And again, I say thank you to everyone who has supported me on this incredible journey of my life.
You note she agreed. She called it all hands on deck. I called it force shall labor. But at least we agreed on the occurrence. The Barbados Association of Retired Persons has had an active interest in Mum's achievement. They have shown an interest in collaborating with us in celebrating not only Mum's 100 years, but in supporting us in the production of this book. It tells you something about the age of the Carrington family, that all of us are members of BARP. This evening we have Ms. Marlene Rice Bowen, who has been the president of BARP since 2019, and prior to that was a member of its board, who has kindly agreed to make a presentation to Mum on behalf of BARP. Come over here. Put your mask on.
Dame Avisene, on behalf of the Board of Directors, management and staff, and all the 22,000 members of BARP, I present to you this token of love and thank you for your service to education, your commitment and dedication to strengthen and reinforce the pillars of education in our island home, Barbados. We thank you for your service. And we all look forward to reading your book and learning from you. And what you have demonstrated to Barbados is that age is just a number. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, hold on.
Well, we've shared with you a wealth of information about Mum's life and career, about Hazel's arduous journey in producing this book. So it's time for us to let you know how you can actually get your hands on a copy. Back in the old days, when I was at school, that would mean going down to Robert's bookstore or Brighton's stationery, not during lunch break, because you used to close during lunch break, but going down to town and buying a copy of the book. Of course, that is just but one of the ways one can obtain a book these days. And to take us through the intricacies of how we can get a book, we have Beverly Smith-Hinkson of Chattel House Books to walk us through that process.
Dame Avis, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. First, let me congratulate the author of this book, Hazel Lindo-Carrington. And I'm going to be bold up front and say to all of you who are going to be purchasing the book, on behalf of Hazel and the Carrington family, they thank you. Please support the book. And of course, it is about someone who is near and dear to your hearts, Dame Avis. Now, from my end, little curiosity got me when I picked up the book and I started to read and I couldn't put it down. The book was engaging. It not only spoke to the life and work of Dame Avis, but it also gave us a glimpse of the social history of Barbados in the time. And as I said, I would recommend that you read it. Dr. Saul talked about it for educators. I am saying anyone with an interest in the history of Barbados should pick up a copy of this book. As a distributor, my task is to tell you how to get the book. So first we're going to start locally. As Ian said, we are going to go old school and say that as of November the 1st, which is tomorrow, the printed copies of the books will land in the local bookstores. So for those of you locally, feel free to go down to any of the bookstores. During the coming week, we are also going to make those books available in the international bookstores and in the online bookstores as well. Now this is going to be the print version that you're going to be able to purchase. There is an e-version coming, so the e-book will then be launched around the 15th of November, and you will be able to also get that through the online bookstores. There may be approximately 1,000 e-book stores that will be carrying the books, so you can pick up your copy either digitally from the e-book store, or you can go online to any of the online stores and purchase the print version. Of course, we know that there are Bajans everywhere in the world. And you may find yourself in a place that you cannot easily access a book. And you may want us to send you that book, whether we drop ship it from the US, Canada, Australia, UK, or send it here from Barbados. We will make sure you get that book. But we need you to email us at publisher@chattelhousebooks.biz. Publisher@chattelhousebooks.biz. Now for the bookstores who need to get the book, you can also use that email address. I'll repeat it again, publisher@chattelhousebooks.biz, or you can call 246-429-2805. So just do a quick recall. The books are going to be available. It will be in a staged format in that from tomorrow, locally, these books will be available in the bookstores. We will then get them in the coming week. That information will be posted to the online stores locally, internationally, where you can order your book, the print book. Mid-November, we will release the e-version of the book. And you can also go to your favorite bookstores, your favorite online bookstores, and get a copy of the e-version of the book. And if all fails, please reach out to us at publisher@chattelhousebooks.biz. There is very little else to be said about this book except buy it. It is an excellent read. It chronicles the life of someone, as I said, who is dear to you. And we are going to say, please support the wonderful work that Hazel did. Thank you very much.
More than once about the contribution that the Carrington children made to Maryville School. Paid or otherwise, I'm not going to hammer that home. What I'll say, though, that of the three children, Shelley's contribution was more significant than Ronnie's and mine. She did all the little chores like making ice blocks and wrapping gifts at Christmas for children and so on. But Shelley's actually the only sibling who actually taught at the school for a while. I tried, But I was fired after my first class. But Shelley hung in there, persevered, and she taught at the school for quite a while. More than that, when our father passed in 1993, Shelley gave up the comfort of her own home to move in here with Mom, to continue to give her the emotional and other support she needed to continue her life, including the life of Maryville School, which continued for 17 years after my father's passing. So the siblings are not really equal. Shelley stands out among us, and therefore it is fitting for me to invite Shelley to give the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Ian. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, let me start with you, Reverend King. Thank you for blessing the proceedings. As Ian said earlier, Mom has worshiped at St. Cyprian for over 60 years, and it really means a lot to her that as rector of the parish, you could be here with her this afternoon, even though you're on holiday, and we really appreciate it. Thank you for your uplifting words. Hazel, most of the speakers, or every speaker, has spoken about the hard work you put into this book. You were firmly committed. Despite bumps along the way, I know there were times you were frustrated, but you stayed the course. And the Carrington family cannot thank you enough for what you have done in bringing Mom's life to the reading public. You are an educator and now a published author. Congrats. We are so proud of you. And your versatility, we are always aware of your versatility. The slideshow you presented was developed by you. Thank you for that effort. I want to thank all the speakers. Laurie, you gave an excellent snapshot of what Hazel went through, and you also made a very apt analogy linking the production of the book to the stages of childbirth. I want to thank Ronnie, I want to thank you for your warm welcome. Don't let me forget you. When you spoke about our life at home, it brought back memories of how we had to juggle our space in the home with the school, because it was just one full space, one space. And that sometimes that had its challenges, but we were able to make it work. I want to thank all those who gave testimonials. Lionel, Dale, Lisa, and Beverly. You spoke from the heart and your words were touching, and you captured the essence of our mother. Thank you so much. Dr. Saul, what can I say? Your review was excellent. I like the fact that you were able to capture Mom's spirit as well as pointing to Hazel's skill as an effective writer. And you have my permission, Dr. Saul, to send Hazel the bill for promoting this book. I want to thank Beverly Smith-Hinkson for giving us the information about the distribution and ordering process. Your persuasive skills have not gone unnoticed, and I'm sure that many people will be anxious to buy the book. Marlene, thank you for the lovely flowers presented on behalf of BARP. And allow me to thank Jason Corbin and his assistant John of Tech Media, who brought the proceedings live to the Barbadian public and to those overseas as well. Thank you so much. Corey, my niece, thank you for welcoming our guests and making sure that things ran smoothly. Ian is the family clown, as you can see, and he always adds humor when he is engaged in these as an MC, and we really appreciate that, Ian. We want to thank all those watching, including the media, and those who have placed orders for the book. I have left the headliner for last. Mom, thank you for being you. Thank you for your kindness, your selflessness, and your sense of fairness. Above all, thank you for your nurturing nature. Your children have benefited, your grandchildren have benefited, your nieces and nephews have also benefited, and of course, your students. Folks, you know the drill at this point. If I've messed out anybody, thank you for your contribution. Thank you, one and all.
Well, there's really nothing else for me to do than to bring this evening's event to a close. What I would like to do, Shelley, thank every one of you for the particular role that you have played. What I would like to thank is every one of you for getting here at the appointed time, especially because we had a live broadcast that was very important. And for those of you that are watching online, we sat here patiently for 15 minutes waiting for the appointed time. So thank all of you for that. Thank you all and have a good evening.